I don't normally make these kinds of videos anymore. In fact, I think the last time I did this was maybe 8 months ago, 9 months ago. I think that's actually the last time my face has been on YouTube. It may have, maybe 4 or 5, it doesn't matter. The point is that the reason I'm doing this today is because I think this is something that matters a lot to me. And more important than that, I think there's a line, and that line is something we seem to be okay with crossing sometimes and not okay with crossing other times. And this is something I've talked about a lot in the past. Google Stadia has hit people's hands, and it has been bad. That's an understatement. I mean, you can just, a quick Google Stadia review search inquiry on Google will show you that it just doesn't work. I spoke about it a couple days ago with the launch lineup and my concerns, and sure enough, basically everything I was concerned about came to pass. But that's a little bit of what I want to talk about, but it's actually bigger than this, and it involves Bethesda and EA. It's kind of complicated. So let's talk about just Google Stadia's launch really quickly. Let's talk about what's happened here. So reviewers have gotten their hands on Google Stadia, and disaster's putting it lightly. It's been called a catastrophe by some reviewers. It's been called unusable. It's been called totally broken. And it sounds like all of those things are true. I have not gotten my pre-order for Google Stadia yet. It seems a lot of other people have not either. I don't know why that is, but I guess it's really not the point. I'll update this when I get my hands on it if I deem it necessary. But for now, quick good reference points would be Paul Tassie's article about Google Stadia and his experience with it over the past week. But again, it's not just Paul, it's a whole list of people. So what's gone wrong? Everything. As you guys know, they added the 10 games or so that were supposed to come out in November or so to their launch lineup because that was miserable, but that doesn't help at all. Let's talk about the play experience of Google Stadia, what people are saying so far. Basically, everybody with internet ranging from 200 megabits per second all the way up to 600 megabits per second are all reporting the same things. Massive frame rate issues, massive dips in quality. It's happening with every play session, according to people like Paul. And as Paul says, this is fine with games like Tomb Raider, where a little dip might cost you a life, but it's no big deal. When you're talking about multiplayer games like Destiny or Twitch fighters like Mortal Kombat, this is totally unacceptable. And these frame rate dips and quality dips are happening often enough to affect every single, again, play session. But this kind of appears to be the least of Google Stadia's worries, if you can even believe that. What's worse about this is that we've now gotten the pricing structure for each and every game coming out on Google Stadia. We're talking about $60 for games that came out a year ago, 2 years ago. We're talking about $30 for games that came out 3 years ago. We're talking about prices that are just so astronomically out of the realm of acceptability. For example, with the Google Stadia Pro membership, you can get half off the normal Stadia price of $60 for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which came out a year ago and has historically been on sale for as low as $15. In fact, there's a package that you can get on PSN for $40, including both Origins and Odyssey for a different install price. Right now at launch, the Google Stadia's buy-in is $100+ plus a membership. Sure, the free membership will launch next year. Sure, you'll be able to access Stadia, but the real question comes down to why should you? And here's where I'm going to kind of get to the commentary section of this piece. I feel like there is a line that Google Stadia is being allowed to cross because it's Google and they're not a game company, that for some reason we're not okay with Bethesda or EA or any of these other companies crossing. So let me explain that a bit. Google Stadia is clearly an unfinished, unpolished, and unusable product at this current time. At the time of its launch, people are paying for something that does not work. With that being said, how has Google handled it thus far? Well, let's use Paul's excellent article once again as kind of a test bed for this. Paul reached out to Google, and what did Google say to him? They said, well, try turning your settings down to balanced, which is 1080p below 4K, which, by the way, 4K is what you're paying for with the Pro subscription. So to solve the frame rate issues, the lag issues, and the input latency, turn it down to balance, Google says. You know, the thing that you're paying for in the first place, remove that. That still did not fix the problem. What does Google say? Turn it down even further to the lowest setting. That still did not fix the problem. And as Paul cooperated with other reviewers, the same thing happened to them. That no matter what setting they were on, the same problems existed. Not only that, but remember how Google touted no latency, you won't even be able to tell. It'll be fine, it'll be just like playing on home on a console. That doesn't seem to be the case either. like at all. In fact, there seems to be input latency every single step of the way, which everybody with a brain knew was going to happen. But again, with Twitch shooters like Destiny, with games that require milliseconds of processing like Mortal Kombat, this is totally unacceptable and a totally unusable play environment. There is no way around that. Worse yet, if you're paying for something and being told the only way to fix your problems is to get rid of the thing you're paying for, there's obviously some issues there from a business and ethical standpoint. But here's the thing, we've seen things like this before. We saw Anthem launch totally broken, not the service that we were told it was going to be, lacking the features and content that we thought it was going to have, and in a state that was basically unplayable. We saw Bethesda launch a similar service called Fallout 76 in the exact same state. And yet what I'm seeing from people with Google Stadia is, well, it's new technology. It's a new attempt to try something that no one's tried before, which, by the way, is not true at all, but we're gonna move past that for now. Sure, they promised us features and we're not getting those features at launch, but hey, at least they're coming at some point. I heard that with Fallout 76 and I heard that with Anthem. It's funny to me because people will say, hey, Google Stadia is not for you. You're a gamer, you have consoles. Okay, sure, let's look at it the way Paul Tassi did in his article, for example. If it's not for me and it's for casual gamers, well, exactly why would a casual gamer be buying most of the games on this launch list anyways? And even if they were buying the games on this launch list, why in the world would they want to play them in the state that Google Stadia has them playing in? Even if it was free, even if the buy-in was just $60, even if you didn't want to have a console, what would be the purpose? To not have a box? I have news for you. Stadia is very clearly eating into data caps that the casual gamer is probably going to deal with in the first place. But what's even more interesting is you clearly need an extremely high-speed internet, an extremely expensive internet package to make this work at all. Ask yourself, how many people with extremely high-speed internet connections in 4K TVs aren't into purchasing a home console? Aren't into buying a game on their own? Who is going to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey that considers himself a casual gamer in 4K on their 4K TV with an extremely fast? Where is this market? Where are these people? And I'm sure some of you in the comments will say, well, that's me. Is it though? I mean, you're here watching this. I mean, are you the non-gamer that they're trying to chase after? I'm not sure this market even exists. But here's the problem. Buying into Google Stadia is like saying that certain companies can release gaming products unfinished, without the features promised, and incomplete, and in some ways a technical and broken state, and it's okay because this is a different circumstance. This is okay because it's a new console, it's a new technology. Well, sure, but isn't Fallout 76 a new kind of Fallout game? Isn't that new for them? New technology, new networking, new things they've never tried before. What about Anthem? This 10-year plan, this crazy experience you've never had. Is there always an excuse for something like that? I mean, isn't there always going to be a but for these things? Why is it that I'm seeing everywhere people saying, well, Google Stadia is not for you, or it's a new technology, or it just launched, give it time. But it's not okay for that to be the case for Bethesda? It's not okay for that to be the case for EA, for Activision, for every other company that releases these things in these states. Somehow they don't get the same pass. And believe me, I'm not advocating for the pass at all. What I'm saying is that we're holding Google to a different standard, which I find a little ironic personally, right? Isn't this the company whose data breaches have historically caused gamers huge problems? Isn't this a company that has not been at all forthcoming with gamers, people in general? Isn't this a company that's constantly taking and selling data from its consumers and the people that are paying for their products? I'm confused here. Why exactly do we trust Google to deliver on a gaming product that we don't expect from Bethesda, the people that make games, or EA, the people that make games? I'm missing the point, I guess. And you might say, well, you're just a Google Stadia hater. Well, first off, I'm not sure what that is. But secondly, let's do a little bit of history on my channel. I've talked about Google Stadia 3 times, and every single time I said the exact same thing. There is absolutely no way that this technology is ready. Not right now. not from Google. And I assure you that when it is ready, Google is not prepared to offer gamers, the people that will actually spend the money on these things, the product that they're hoping for. There's too many people without the internet to be able to run what Stadia offers. There's too many people without the money to invest in a new technology, to beta test something for $60, $130 a monthly subscription plan. Google Stadia, long term, if you want to play at 4K, costs just as much as buying a console over the course of 7 years. You're talking about $800, $900 for a console generation if you're paying for the launch, lineup, the box, the Fire Stick, all that stuff, and the $10 plus a month for 7 years. You are talking about the same amount of money as you would spend if you went out and bought a PS4 or an Xbox One and played in 4K on your Xbox One X. Or a little bit less than what you'd be paying for if you went out and got the next generation and did the same thing. It's worth pointing out that while you're probably not going to, you absolutely can and are able to purchase an Xbox One right now and not pay for Xbox Live and play any single game you want and play any single player game on the market right now. You're able to do the same thing with PS4 and PSN. It's also worth pointing out that Xbox Live Gold and PlayStation Plus both offer you free experiences each and every single month, which over the course of a year adds up to as many as 24 plus games. It's also worth pointing out that between PlayStation Now and Xbox Games Pass, you have services that for a small fee, by the way, the same fee as your 4K subscription to Google Stadia, offer you dozens and dozens and dozens of experiences. Right now, I want to go back to Paul's article to kind of close out a little bit my thoughts on this. Paul brings up a great point. What if Google Stadia launched as a subscription service? You paid $10 a month and you had access to all of its launch games, right? You could play them right now, download them. Awesome. That would be wonderful. That would be worth paying for. Or better yet, like he says, what if this launched in 2020 in the holidays alongside the PS5 and the Xbox, whatever it's going to be called, probably poorly named again, but regardless, what if it launched then? And it worked perfectly, and once again offered a subscription fee to be able to access a litany or library of games. Then it might make sense as competition for these systems. But Jason Schreier brought up a great point on Twitter. The main pros of Google Stadia right now, the one that all of its advocates seem to be pointing out, barely any load times. You can download the games and be playing them right away. You can only download the things you need and hop right into the action. Those are the pros of Google Stadia right now, and that's also wonderful. But as Jason Schreier pointed out, as rumored and now seemingly confirmed, those are basically the selling points of the PS5. And in fact, the original PS5 tech demo that Mark Cerny went around showing people was predicated on those very things. Download what you need right now and be playing in seconds, and also basically no load times. For those uninformed, back when Mark Cerny was first showing around the PS5 in demos, or at least the architecture that it was going to be built within, more specifically the SSD, he was showing Spider-Man running on the console, and he was showing that through Manhattan, through cutscenes, whatever it was, the load times were basically seconds. This is a huge selling point for the next generation of consoles, and yet Google Stadia is here treating it as its only benefactor, as the only thing's working in its favor, and yet its advocates are using it as these giant things that are going to change gaming, when in reality, Xbox has been working towards this for a long time. Sony acquired Gaikai not but 6-7 years ago for $400 million to be able to do these very things. They were working on these things with the Vita. They were working on these things with PlayStation Now. Google is not a step ahead of everybody else. They're simply putting this out before anybody else. This technology is not proprietary. Everybody and their mother is working on similar technology. Google isn't changing the game. They're just getting there first, and they're doing it kind of poorly. So here's my kind of call to action. And it's not really a call to action, it's just a position. I don't think we should be here as gamers holding Google to a different standard. I don't think we should be accepting something less from them while expecting more from everybody else. That's a super scary precedent to set. Why should we accept and purchase a launch edition of Google, Founders Edition of Google Stadia when it doesn't work, it's unfinished, and nobody's going to hold them accountable? Absolutely not. If you're interested in this technology, sure, by all means, go out and purchase the Founders Edition of Google Stadia when it becomes available again. Spend the money on the $10 subscription. No one's going to judge you. I'm not telling you what to or what not to purchase. But what I will say is that maybe it's not the best idea. Maybe it's not the best message to send to a company just entering the gaming space. Maybe don't tell Google, hey, it's okay to release unfinished things and unfinished technology and unfinished products. Maybe it's okay to charge hundreds of dollars for something that isn't ready. Maybe it's okay to give gamers things that, should be finished but aren't, because maybe, just maybe, Google will take that message and run with it forever. And we'll never get anything finished, and we'll never get anything complete. And what's to say they don't become the next EA of gaming, except with technology, or even games themselves, as they say, they're working on games internally, or they're working with third-party publishers. Well, maybe, just maybe get this thing to work first. All I'm saying is, maybe let's not hold them to a different standard. But now I want to know what you guys think. I know I don't do this very often anymore. In fact, I literally can't remember the last time I have. I just thought this was a more personal thing for me and something I thought was really important, and I thought it was easier, especially given that I haven't received my Google Stadia yet and don't have gameplay to show you, to just kind of talk to you face to face about this. See, there's really not much else I can do. But I want to know what you think. What do you think about Google Stadia? Are you going to purchase it? Are you interested in it? I mean, the real question, I guess, is what would you have liked to see in its launch lineup? What would you have liked to see them do to make you purchase one? I mean, if there was a game that could have got you to try this, would it been, or maybe not even a game, a platform, would you be interested in Google Stadia if they were letting you play it on your phone right now? I mean, what could have got you to purchase this, and are you going to? I'm going to answer any of those questions down in the comments below. It's a real conversation. As always, if you enjoyed this video, press the like button. For once, I'm going to say this and mean it. I don't normally do videos like this, like at all. So you can check out the other stuff. I normally do more highly edited kind of review stuff. But if you enjoyed this, press the like button, hit subscribe, and also hit the little bell. I say this, but now I'm going to say it to you in person. More personable. Little bell. All it does is make sure that you get the videos when they come out. Just press subscribe with the little bell. Quick update, Gears is still coming, guys. I do want to say that. But also the second Death Stranding video is coming. I have been able to replace my capture card since then. I also want to cover Pokemon, so be on the lookout for that soon. I don't really want to cover it in the context of a review, because I think that that information is lost on people at this point in the context of everything that's happening. But you will get a Pokemon video for me if that's something you're interested in. So many of you have asked why I don't cover Nintendo products. I'll dive into that in the Pokemon video as well, because that's a whole different can of worms that some of you who have been here for 2 years know about. There's a little bit of history there between me and the old Nintendo. But anyways, until next time, guys, I'm